It is my distinct honor and privilege then to introduce our guest speaker to you this morning. She is an icon in religious science movement, and if you've been around this movement long enough, she says, yes, you've heard her name. She's treasured because she not only espouses the tenets then of religious science, but she lives them. She's been a teacher, she's been a mentor, a friend to many in this movement then over the years. As well, she's been instrumental in the education of countless number of students, of practitioners, and ministers. She's served on numerous committees, boards, and panels over the years, and she's been a teacher, minister, educator, and more. She's also very special to us at CSL LA because she's been instrumental in supporting this ministry during times of change and transition, and we still thank her so much for that. She's a former spiritual leader at both the Edmonton CSL and the Center for Spiritual Living Westlake. Technically, she's in retirement. However, I don't think you would ever know it because her calendar seems to just be filled with appointments where she's a guest speaker, coach, mentor, and dancer. So please give a warm and hearty welcome to Dr. Sue Rubin.
Thank you. It's a mutual love affair, you know that. It truly is. I can remember so many days I can see myself in the hospital with several of you when we went to visit Dr. David. Yeah, so time marches on and things definitely change while inwardly remaining the same. So I think I'm going to deviate from what I originally thought because of what is happening. And I'm just going to ask us all to bring a willingness to upping our spiritual game. How many of you, you've been here 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years studying the science of mind. So that's it. I'm going to talk spiritual turkey. Yay. And I always thought, you said that David always said, all are welcome here. I could have sworn he always said linoleum. And then I discovered now what Dr. Keith says. His word is kundalini. So I'm very much up to date on what you've been studying this past month. Living an enlightened life. So I could carry that on and tell you what you already know at some level, that you are the perfect incarnation of a divine wholeness, that right where you are, it is, wherever you are, in the highs and the lows and the ins and the outs and the ups and the downs, God is, I am. I could go on about that there is an infinite intelligence, that in Science of Mind we study the principle of being, that which is a source or something that originates invisibly and becomes that which we see in our human experience. I could tell you that what we think into this big mind with our smaller mind is eventually what comes right back on our doorstep, locally, globally, and internationally. I could tell you love points the way, and what makes the way possible? Law. And I could also say something is happening in the world that is simply another thing that the Christ would have called, in the world you have tribulation, but don't worry, because I am in the world, but not of it. So I am very much aware that my physical being is the garment, the instrument through which the invisible walks through a portal through my own awareness, and voila, it shows up in my life. So, fast forwarding from the times that have been dark, the times that have been light, the times that we have all somehow come through. I'm looking at faces I've seen for years and years, and you're looking back at one that's been around for years and years and years. Let's all say, praise the Lord. We're here. And the idea that we're here is significant in that we're here because there is something more that we need to bring forth. We're not too old, it's not too late, it's not too soon, and we're not too young. This is the perfect moment for us to contribute to life in a bigger way, to be all that we are capable of being. So last night I started writing, and I started asking myself, and because we're all one in mind, what I'm thinking, somewhere, your thought is being touched by it, I said, so how can I tell really? How can I assess with compassion and objective detachment if I really am living an enlightened life? So just take this week 38 of the year 2018, and we have a lot to look at. We have our own, before everything started accelerating, our own political agenda, and I will make my political statement right here and right now. Please vote, each and every one. Do I have your commitment? Okay, vote. So we have that political scene and the divisiveness, and we've all heard it, the anger, the outrage, the wrath, the resentment, the wanting to get even, and all of that is simply a very red-hot manifestation of fear. There's not one of us that cannot honestly say, I'm afraid, I'm worried for myself, for my family, for future generations. This is a time of validation of a cause and a reason to be humanly worried. While, again, on the other side of life, there is that remembrance somewhere that I am a divine incarnation, the living embodiment of a wholeness, a harmony, a peace. So how can I tell if I'm living an enlightened life? That which knows itself and is a walking, living, talking manifestation of the self it proclaims to be, the divine in human form. I'm as much of God as you're going to see. When you look at yourself in the mirror, that's as much of God as you're going to see. When I'm touching or feeling or sensing anything, it's an idea, invisibly. Someone said, wouldn't it be nice to have a clean, clear through, visible podium from which someone can put their water and microphone and books and all of that, which is for the nourishment of the body. Everything for the body you can see. Everything that the body is showing you that you can see first came from an invisible source. So I ask myself, how can I tell if I'm living an enlightened life? Okay. So let's ask a few questions. How easily am I emotionally reactive to outer circumstances? How much anger do I discover within myself as I observe and hear and am bombarded by the news that's going on? Not only once, I hear it over and over and over and over again. How much of that? Because I know the mechanics of subconscious mind is finding its resting place somewhere within me, and boom, it shows up not only where I am, but I see it outpictured. How prejudiced am I really? How am I inclusive about faces that are different, colors are different, sexual preferences that are different, people I don't even understand when they speak with dark hair and threatening darkness and wearing odd coverings on their head? How much do I really embrace and engage in wanting to tell me more about you? Tell me more about what you think, what you believe. I've read some beautiful things in the Quran. How come that has been misinterpreted? To which I would reply, there are so many beautiful things in the Bible. How come they've been misinterpreted? How come there is so much beauty in the teachings of Buddha? How come that's been misinterpreted to conform to man's opinion of itself as the God that is emanating from his image and likeness, the anthropomorphic God? And so I continue asking myself, how much do I participate in the negativity and the gossip that goes on all around me? How much do I get sucked into someone who's describing how frightened and scared and fearful they are? How do I call upon the God of my belief and the teachings of the science of mind, or any teaching, any faith tradition that I happen to hold true to myself? When I was at Westlake, there is a gentleman who made all the rounds. He managed somehow on a Sunday morning to fit the Catholic Church into his schedule, to fit the Presbyterian minister who came to town and was doing a talk. There was a Christian Science lecture going on at the library, and then he would end up at Westlake. So he had all his bases covered. But when you peel that all away, what do I believe? I say, I believe in God. Say that with me. I believe in God. I believe God is the one power living through one and all. I believe God is the one power living through one and all. Really? So how do I act that? How do I bring congruency into what I think and what I believe and what I can easily spout? I'm sure there's not one of us that does not have the capability of coming forth with some quotation from the Science of Mind textbook, from Frederick Bales, from Charles Fillmore, from Emma Curtis Hopkins, from all the beautiful teachers of a time, I believe, where there was conviction. I remember there was a story about Ernest Holmes. I remember at the height of his career, at the very start of it, this country was just coming out of a depression. And so he would arrive at his speaking location on Wilshire Boulevard, and he would drive up occasionally in a limousine, a chauffeur-driven limousine. And on one occasion, there was a very, very angry man just waiting for him to arrive, just standing there with arms crossed and angry face. And Ernest got out of the car, and the man said, "Aren't you embarrassed? Situation in life and people suffering and homeless and hungry. How do you have the audacity, preaching what you do, to show up in a chauffeur-driven limousine? Aren't you embarrassed?" And Ernest Holmes calmly said, "I would be embarrassed not to show up this way, considering what I'm teaching." So there's, if you're preaching prosperity, if you're preaching peace on earth, goodwill toward all, I am the peace of God that transcends human understanding. We all have our catchy phrases. We may all have the affirmations posted on our bathroom. And yet we get out in the street, we turn on, and we feel, oh my God, the Dodgers could blow it today. Let us all pray. I mean, it's just so remarkable how much of an external life people live. I mean, people who, I think it's wonderful. You looked at Dodger Stadium and that sea of blue, oh my goodness. And people painted and houses painted blue and players featured on homes, and it's like, get a life. So it's wonderful because we use external situations to arouse either a bunch of ire and anger and wrath and resentment and retaliation, or it's the cause for coming together. We see it with what happened in Florida, in Georgia, Miami, everywhere, where there's a hurricane, in California, where there are earthquakes or fires. All of a sudden, we marshal those grandiose qualities, and we come together. And now it's like, oh, was there a hurricane or something that happened in Puerto Rico, when people, meanwhile, are still without electricity and still without water and still not in a condition which I would presume most of us, whether we like it or are still complaining about it, which raises another question: how much do I complain? How much do I bitch and moan and groan? And I mean, what's the world coming to? The world is coming to the exact place where I am in consciousness. Duh. And unless I can look at my own family, my own one-on-one personal upfront relationships, until I can see if I'm still holding a grudge against my ex or my mother or my father or my kids, why can't they do things the way I do them, then that is what spills out into, I can't see anyone of a different faith, a different color, a different sexual profession, anything. I can only see and embrace that which is similar to myself. And that's why we don't like being inconvenienced. We are spoiled, we are self-absorbed, and we are selfish at that human level. And meanwhile, again, crossing the line, which appears, but it's non-existent, I am the perfect divine incarnation of the living spirit of infinite, endless, eternal love, perfection, everything. Yeah, but you don't see what's going on. What about that journalist who was mutilated and beaten and murdered because he was a dissident? He didn't agree with the existing mode, the existing paradigm. What about what's happening with the bombing, the killing, the shooting in Pittsburgh, and humans who come to worship? And suddenly that is not acceptable to someone who has allowed their own inner insecurities, fears, anger, rage, alienation, isolation to become ensnared in the conversation that becomes broader about, come on, we can do something about it. We can stand up and fight. Well, to my knowledge, anyone who has ever fought, be it Martin Luther King or Gandhi, they did it in a nonviolent way. And that's what turned the corner. So if I continue to ask myself, how much do I judge? How much do, my eyes roll when, oh my God, why would someone want to do that? That little piece of paper that they're littering this lovely park or street with, rather than just God is, I am, bend down and pick it up and throw it away if you don't like it. And if someone is engaging in a conversation that you are not compatible with, it doesn't resonate, it's dissident, it's not resonant, then say something. I don't believe that. How often do we speak the truth, the whole unvarnished, untarnished truth? That I don't agree with you. I believe there is good in the universe, and regardless of what is happening, it is still an undergirding and overriding universal principle of goodness, or we wouldn't all be here. There still wouldn't be that beautiful full harvest moon that we saw this week. Any time that I'm feeling thwarted and constricted and frustrated and frightened, I think to myself, go outside, just on your little teeny balcony. You can just look up and see the broader vista. That same illustration we're always given about if you're in a plane, what you see on the ground, suddenly when you're elevated, your vision encompasses a broader view. There's something like, oh my God. And what for me is most significant, that how small, how petty, when you see particularly those original images from the moon, of this gorgeous blue planet that brought scientists and astronauts to the soul of themselves. In the science of mind, we have the wonderful gift of using our conscious mind to really change and alter conditions and dissolve and dissipate some of those hardened patterns and belief systems of fear, of alienation and separation. And yet, the intellect will only take us so far. What is the master and the maturing and the richness of who we are is ultimately to be found in the heart. And I know from myself, starting the studies of science of mind in the mid-'70s, there was nothing about the heart. It was like using your mind, and particularly my teacher, being Dr. Tom Johnson, what would be described as an absolutist. There is only mind, there is only God. I would come to him and say, well, yeah, but Tom, I'm new to this, and this is what's going on in my life. God is all there is. There was no allowing for. How do you feel? What's going on? What are you frightened about? Why are you hesitant to tap into? Why are you not meditating every day? Let's talk spiritual practice. How consistent, how regular without exception are you in meditating? The first thing in the morning before you check your little technological glued at the hip. Who texted? Who called? What's the news? What's going on? I mean, seriously, I find myself, and it's like, stop it. Just like I call a halt, I cease and desist on looking again outwardly on the tangible. Let me find the only place where true solace, strength, courage, boldness, fearlessness exist, and that's within my consistent conscious contact with God is, I am. I think last time I was here, it was like that's the vertical, extends far beyond the heavens' reach and deeper than the bowels of the earth. That's God is. You can't see it, you can't feel it, because somehow not only do you see it, but it extends beyond visible sight. And the other, the arms extended on this part of the horizontal cross, is I am. This is as much of God as I'm showing. And a lot of us can speak it like crazy, but then this is all we got to give. Extend, reach beyond where, So, in continuing the inner meticulous, perhaps what the 12 steppers would call a fearless inventory. So, how much love do I really give? How much patience do I really have? How much freedom do I allow for someone else's opinion? How open-minded am I really? She pauses for a drink, allowing the contemplative looks on the faces around. Too easy to say, been studying this stuff for years. I know. Oh, that statement, I love that quote. Yeah, but let me tell you my quote. How often do we already frame our I can top this after hearing what somebody else says? Can't wait to show how smart we are, when really true wisdom comes from, even if you know what someone is saying, to have the compassion and wisdom to say, and to treat it as a completely new idea. How accepting are we of people who really are not of the same mind that we are? How much do I participate? How much do I give to life? If the principle that we study says, I only have what I give, is not the only question then, not what I'm getting, but what am I giving? How do I lend a hand, a heart, a mind, a thought, an encouragement? How do I support spiritually, financially? Am I a tither? Am I a consistent giver to a cause that I consider worthy of? How much do I volunteer? For the first time in my life, I volunteered for the political party of my persuasion and wrote postcards to our Simi Valley candidate. And it was such a remarkable feeling to somehow take what I read about, particularly now more than years ago, I take spiritually motivated action and I apply it socially. Certainly the world needs us all to do more than we're presently doing. We can't do everything, but darn it, we can do something. So examine your... Thanks. That's easy. Oh, so good. What happens when you leave this inner sanctuary, this little cocoon? What do you say? What do you do? Where do you go? Where do you again step down into the earthly? Yeah, Jesus, did you just read? It's too easy. I have lifted myself to podiums in Canada and the United States, and I could have a headache, I could be miserable, I could have a fever, I could have all kinds of aches and pains. The minute I'm here and the flow, it's like, okay, let it flow, let it go. It's gone. There's no even existence of it. Game over. Oh my God, my head. Haven't you noticed that, how easy it is to talk a good game because we're of like minds. We're with each other. I know exactly what you mean. The flaws, the foibles, the goodness, the badness, the hate, the joy, all of that, the sadness. We've all cried in our lives. We've all been scared in our lives. We've all experienced pain. In some way, we've all been abused, either by ourselves or by others, somehow, mentally, emotionally, physically. We've all been through a war or a depression or a financial boom and the good days, the great times. We've all been in all of that because not only do we share our divinity, we share our humanity. The divinity is simply, let me move through with more of it. I keep seeing every time for my house shall be called a house of prayer for all people. My house is my body. My body is the temple of the living God. Every place I step and you step is holy ground, not because the ground is holy, but because what's stepping on it, walking on it, running on it, skipping on it, or just sitting on it is holy. This holiness that we carry has to have something more than just a recognition, an affirmation, or a prayer in the morning. Did my work now. Let me get caught in the melee again. Let me mess with it. Let me get my 2 cents in. Let me tell people how angry I am. So keep looking deeper and going further and upping the spiritual game of calling ourselves to a higher order of being. Someone said that. You can say I said it. It's a higher order of being. That somehow, if I am really practicing a spiritual lifestyle that's based on taking more validity, more truth, more reality from the inner world than from the outer, then I'm in better shape than if I'm taking more reality and more validity from show me the money, show me the beef. If I can see it, feel it, taste it, or touch it, it's real. Otherwise, you're talking an airy-fairy, illusionary game. No, this is the illusion, what we're looking at. The real stuff is what I'm building and developing and nurturing and nourishing from within myself. God calling. So there's a story about a Zen student who goes to his master. And he says, Master, I know you have a lot of students. They're all following the path, as am I, but I want to get along further and quicker on it. What do I need to do? Tell me, and I'll do it. The master says, take you 10 years. And he goes, well, what if I double my studies, and I double my meditation, and I double the time I spend in the awareness of holiness? And the master says, take you 20 years. And the guy says, well, what if I give up all my evils, all my lurid sexual thoughts? Ooh, I got all excited on that one. Literally. Okay, I maintain conscious control. Okay. Jesus cometh to the rescue. So he continues to say, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll fast. I'll do all of these things. How long will it take me then? Thank you. God is, I am. And the master says 30 years. And the guy says, why do you keep adding years when I keep telling you I'm going to do more and keep the momentum going even further? And the master says, because you only have one eye on the goal. The other eye is too focused on how you're going to get there. You'll have less time. So that's why it's going to take you longer. So here we are, taking whatever time and wanting it to go faster. Why can't I be calmer and quieter and more peaceful? Why can't I see harmony in the midst of all this debris? Why can't I find myself, that which I truly am with the capital S, amidst the little s? I have no idea of time. Is there a clock in this place? It's time? Okay, it's time. So with that, I leave you. No, not quite. So can I do a treatment now or later? Now? Okay, so you know what I'm saying. You're fine. You've done wonderful work. I acknowledge myself. I acknowledge all of us, because I know each and every one of us can point to where we've been and where we are now. And all of you watching on the YouTube channel, this is for you as well. It's a broader audience, reaching far more people than are sitting here. Let that ripple effect prompt each and every one of us to look deeper, go further, rise higher, and make a meaningful, significant contribution to a life that really works for everyone, because it emanates and originates from the clear awareness of what I know right here, right now, for each and every one. I speak in the I am, which is the nature of the infinite, perfect, whole, and complete, which all are. So just know with me right here and right now, I come to a higher conviction, a deeper faith, a greater conscious awareness and subjective acceptance that right where I am, the full measure of God's presence, power, intelligence, and life principle is. Therefore, right where I am, where all are, where everything is, God is. Therefore, there is harmony, there is creativity, there is resolution, there is a higher seeking and finding of integrity, of civility, of inclusiveness, of harmony, balance, and order that each one first finds within the self, within each one's heart, mind, soul, and being. There exists a greater willingness to be honest and clear about where we each are on our journey, and the opportunity always avails in each moment to make a greater commitment, to live a larger life, to play a larger game on the whole world stage, and to do it in the ways that are uniquely each one of us to discover, explore, radiate, express, and luxuriate in. So I do know that as each one goes forth today, it's a different day. It's a day in which a new dawning occurs, a new light goes on within the consciousness of God, as me, as all. And from this light, there radiates forth a new dawning of a new day, each one lifted to new heights, unparalleled dimensions of harmony, peace, kindness, generosity of spirit, compassion, wisdom, and understanding. That to which I speak speaks through me as me. It is God in action, and I go forth with it in acceptance, faith, conviction, and great thankfulness, knowing this is the truth that frees myself and all to live a life of value, love, and meaning. For this and so much more than words can express, let us all declare, and so it is.
Earlier, you heard Reverend Lenore say, peace, power, beauty, joy, life, light, love, wisdom. And I truly think that Dr. Sue represents and lives and expresses all of that. So we have our musicians, Arnaé, James Harper, and Andy Belling again.
That was really moving. People get ready, there's a train coming. You don't need no baggage, you just get on board. All you need is faith to hear the diesels humming. Don't need no ticket, just thank the Lord. I believe, I believe, I believe, I do believe. People get ready for the train to Jordan, picking up passengers coast to coast. Faith is the key, open the doors and boredom. There's hope for all among those who love the most. I believe, I believe, I believe, I do believe. There's hope for all, we can all be winners. We heal humankind when we heal our souls. Have compassion on those who don't see and don't know that the key to freedom is when we release and let go. And I believe, I believe, I believe, I do believe. People get ready, there's a train a-coming. Leave all your baggage and get on board. All you need is faith to hear the diesels humming. Don't need no ticket, just get on board. Just get on board and vote. Get on board, vote. Get on board. Raise your voice.
Get on board.
Raise your voice.
Get on board.
Raise your heart.
Get on board.
Vote.
Get on board. Get on board.
Thank you, Arnaé. Our spiritual community thrives and survives based on your conscious financial giving. So now is the time for us to step into our own personal prosperity and abundance, and give in a manner then that reflects who we know ourselves to be as abundant beings. So now is the time we each have the opportunity to grow ourselves into a fuller expression as a spiritual community and consciously participate in our evolution, personally as well as the evolution of our center. So I invite you to do your part today. I want to do something a little different here. I want you to stand up just for 1 second. And as Reverend Sue did, God is, I am. Yes. All right, you may sit. All right, so we welcome your conscious contributions today. So cash, credit cards, check. Our ushers then, when they come up and then when they pass the bag, you can certainly put your cash or your check there. If you want to use a credit card, then that's certainly available. Dr. Edward is at the Reverend Edward, is at the back at the greeting table, and he will take your credit cards. You can also use the website, www.csl-la.org, or you can use the app, which I do. You can get in the App Store if you don't have it, and it's CSL-LA. All right, so then, ushers, if you would come up. So I'm going to ask you to join me for our conscious giving affirmation, all right? And you can hold your abundance sharing, as I call it, to your heart if you would like. It's just something that I enjoy doing. All right, so please repeat after me. Conscious giving heals.
Conscious giving heals.
Today, I choose to be awakened in a new way.
Today I choose to be awakened in a new way.
And my conscious giving enlivens my awareness.
My conscious giving enlivens my awareness.
I am one with an abundant universe.
With an abundant universe.
I give with love and know.
I give with love and know.
And know that I know.
And know that I know.
It returns to me.
It returns to me.
Multiplied abundantly.
Multiplied abundantly.
And so it is.
And so it is. 'Tis the gift to be simple. 'Tis the gift to be free. 'Tis the gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend, we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, and by turning, we come round right.
Thank you, Andy. This has been an amazing morning. Would you not agree? Yes. we have some thank yous, and thank you obviously to our musicians, Arnaé Batson, James Harper, and Andy Belling. For setup, Bob Zwolinski and Jesus Ernesto Reyes. Okay. The class then that Dr. Keith then is teaching continues again this week, Wednesdays at 7:15. Thursday at 7:15. Don't come Wednesday. You'll be here by yourself. All right. The weekly then morning medications at 8 o'clock also then resume Wednesday. That is on Wednesday. All right. Okay. All right. If you are not receiving our emails, our newsletters, please do sign up then at the greeting table. And of course, our thanks to Dr. Sue Rubin. All right, so after service, then you are invited then to converse then with each other, to talk to Dr. Rubin, to the musicians. So we have coffee and other things in the lobby. I'm going to ask Dr. Sue then if she would to come back up one more time and close us out with another treatment, because that was so beautiful.
Yes. The most underutilized thing, pardon me for stepping in front of you, treatment, the most underutilized tool that we have in Science of Mind. I'm really strong on that one. So again, I know right here and right now that I just don't walk forth forgetting just another talk, another few moments of movement within me. I take it more deeply, more seriously unto myself, moving forward with making just one bigger commitment beyond what I've known and done before, something that's probably been sitting at the back of my mind all along, waiting for me to rise to the occasion. And so I touch that spark of fire within me, and I just don't keep it to myself. I take it into my very beingness, giving it out into the world, because I do believe with all my heart that the world needs what I have to give, that which is uniquely mine, be it by word, be it by a tangible action of helping a friend, making a call, writing a card, making a visit, touching someone that I simply stand before in the market, in the bank, just with a word, a gesture that acknowledges the existence of other sentient beings with whom I share this planet, all working together, stronger and better for everyone, because of one person's knowing that best within themselves. So all is well. God is in its heavenly realm within myself and all, and I see that all really is well with the world. And in together acknowledging God is, I am, let us all declare, and so it is.
All right, we will see you then next week. Oh, also then, if anyone does need treatment, then yes, please see Reverend Lenore. And if there are any other concerns or questions, then for Sandy Rivetta, then is our board on duty today. All right, see you next week.
God's love is lifting me higher than I've ever been lifted before. There's so much love, feel my desire, and I live